53 years ago, as President Eisenhower was leaving office, he gave a farewell speech so profound and prescient that it continues to send chills down the spine of those who listen to it today. It was not only a speech, but a warning to every U.S. citizen that the defense industry had begun its takeover of America's democracy. Despite the fact that this speech has become the most memorable moment of Eisenhower's presidency, he was largely responsible for the unabated growth of the U.S. military machine during the height of the Cold War. And knowing the role he played in the military-industrial complex, perhaps it was guilt that led him to give this grave address.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations.
Think about what he said for 1 second. In 1961, the U.S. was already spending more on its defense than the net income of all U.S. corporations at the time. If Eisenhower thought that was a disturbing trend, I wonder what he'd think now that U.S. corporations have become bigger than many countries. For example, GE's GDP is bigger than New Zealand, and Yahoo is bigger than Mongolia. But Eisenhower would be rolling in his grave if he could see the extremes that the U.S. military-industrial complex has reached today. In fact, the U.S. now spends more on military expenses than the next 10 largest countries combined. Yet the government continues to deceptively claim that only 24% of its expenditures are for national defense. However, independent watchdog organizations have broken down the true costs of U.S. imperialism. According to the War Resisters League, 29% of the budget from 2012 went to fund current military operations, and a whopping 18% went to fund past military ventures. Yes, believe it or not, we're still paying off debt from the Civil War. But there's another reason why the anniversary of Eisenhower's speech is eerily symbolic. January 17th was the same day that Obama chose to give his own speech on NSA reform. It was full of empty platitudes and ultimately proved that there would be no change to global unconstitutional spying. This dragnet surveillance program is perhaps one of the biggest hindrances of modern liberty and democracy. And oddly enough, Eisenhower addressed just that.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Unfortunately, Eisenhower's message fell on deaf ears as generation after generation relinquished more and more power to feed the military beast. And sadly, no president since then has had the courage to confront our addiction to war, even if it means the destruction of our society.